What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another video. In today's video, we are back with another Detroit Lions takeaways video. And today we are here to recap and dive into this win over the Chicago Bears after my rewatch, going through the all 22 of this game. I'll show some of the key plays, things that stuck out, players that I thought stuck out good and bad from this game. But if you want an individual player or maybe a couple player breakdown video, let me know who that should be down in the comments below. I have a couple in mind already. Jahmyr Gibbs, maybe a little bit of Jameson Williams, maybe the offensive line with Christian Mahogany, who I thought played really well in this game. So let me know down in the comments if there's a player that stands out you want to see me talk about. Maybe the back end, the linebacker. There's a lot of options for this one. But today we're going to do an overall review of this game and specifically point out some of the key plays, things that stuck out schematically, but also players that I thought maybe played well or players that maybe that wasn't so great. Just key moments from this game. I love doing these videos, so Merry Christmas to everybody out there. Now, before we get into today's video, I have to give a shout out to BetUS. Use code in the description, YouTube150, to get a 150% deposit match on your first deposit, 125% on the next two deposits as your sign-up bonus. So if you haven't signed up with BetUS, head over there right now. You're looking for your sportsbook. You want to get in on some of the action. Christmas is going to have a lot of games. We got basketball. We got football. It's action-packed. College football playoffs are happening. So go to BetUS, sign up, make an account. Even if you don't want to deposit right away, just make an account so you can check out all of the things that they offer. We're here right now on BetUS. You can see the current Super Bowl odds, and man, the Lions are still favorites over here on BetUS at plus 425. Now, it's tight. We got the Bills right there. Kansas City's now knocking on the door. Philadelphia, a little bit off. Same thing with Baltimore. But the Lions remain favorites on BetUS. BetUS, that's why I love you, man. You know what I mean? This is why we appreciate you. You're out here doing work. We see you know what time it is. You bet $20 on it, you can win 85. You bet right now. I mean, this was a lot better a long time ago, but still not bad odds. If the Lions go out and win the division, these odds will probably get a little bit worse, I would assume. So right now, maybe the time to get in on this action. I'm going to place my bet here, YouTube 150. That is the code. Shout out to BetUS. Now let's get to today's video. Defensively, of course, we forced a 3 and out to get things started, and we did that with some aggressiveness defensively, right? A cover 1 blitz to get things started. We were blitzing iffy early in the game. We also had a sweep stop, which I think immediately got us to kind of like where the linebackers were at in this game. This was a heck of a performance from the linebackers in this one. Like, Jack Campbell continues to play at an elite level. I thought he played outstanding in this game. Like, he got back to being like, oh, okay, Jack Campbell's fantastic. He played that way in this game, especially against the run. And then on the flip side, putting him next to Ben Neiman, I thought played really well as well, especially against the run in this game. He looked much more natural as an off-ball backer versus trying to put him in that Sam role, and then that allowed Trevor Nowatzki to fit back into that position that he was playing coming back from the concussion injury. So for the Lions, the linebacker position looked great, and it was an interesting decision when it first happened. It was like, oh, they're rolling with Ben Neiman a lot in this game, but it paid off really well because Ben Neiman was playing really fast. He played incredibly well dealing with blocks at the second level, which maybe was somewhat of an adjustment, like, hey, we may have to deal with that in this game, but I also think for coverage sake as well, it made some sense as well in this game. So the linebacker position played great, and we saw that immediately from the 2nd and 9 spot. And then, of course, on 3rd and 9, the Lions went into, again, you expect man from the Lions specifically. They go into a cover 2 blitz look, and actually they would have had an answer there potentially if it wasn't for the pressure from Ife Melifonwu, who turned the corner. It was outstanding and took away kind of that high-low read. Terrion Arnold was just kind of in between enough there on the play, but the Lions immediately came out aggressively defensively. Like, they were attacking this team, trying to put them on their heels. And then when the offense got on the field, we'll start with this 2nd and 2 play because we're going to show some runs. The Lions ran the ball really well. The offensive line, maybe one of their best games as a unit so far this season, in my opinion. And on this 2nd and 2, it started off with Jameson Williams just finding a way to go beat and win one-on-one against Tyreek Stevenson. Now, of course, you don't love the fact that there was a flag immediately here after spinning the ball on the ground, but it was a cover 3 look, and we got them into cover 3 a ton in this game. And we'll point it out that in the second half, the Lions ultimately got Chicago into a spot. If they started going base personnel against 12 personnel offensively, which typically they don't do. They don't match that. And we saw in the first half they weren't. They were leaving Kyler Gordon on the field. And then in the second half, they're like, all right, we may have to change this up a little bit. We're going to go some base personnel as the game went along. And then also on top of that, it started drifting into more 2-deep looks because the Lions were really dicing up a lot of these cover 3 looks defensively. It wasn't until they got out of that there was much success in coverage defensively for the Bears. And it got started off early, but I think that even though there's a flag here, it's more so the importance of having a guy that can just go win one-on-one, right? Not a lot of teams have two great corners, and Tyreek Stevenson is not a great corner for Chicago. You stay away from Jalen Johnson. You go at that guy one-on-one. You use the motion to clarify that you have the one-on-one, which, again, the Lions did an outstanding job of using motion in this game. We'll showcase that to get answers offensively before the play, and then also the way that they were able to utilize so much eye candy to attack the Bears with the run game. But this was like a good start to get a kind of a visualization of like, okay, this is what they're capable of with Jameson Williams. And then you get into this first shot play that they're able to connect on, really. And, well, I don't even want to say this is the first shot play, but it was a shot play that they were able to connect on. And this was the shot to Amon-Ra St. Brown on a 1st and 10. And again, we got them into this cover 3 sky look defensively, and you have the deep third corner that is pulled out of the play by Jameson Williams. Again, you utilize the motion, which is great here. So you have the motion on the play to kind of get that clarification. That's what you have defensively. You also peel out the outside third, and you bump out that flat defender, which the flat defender not matching on this play. Usually you would say, hey, get underneath the one. You may have to carry that up. You don't have an underneath threat on the play. And here he lets that route drop off, and you can see Goff seemingly is like waiting, okay, is Jameson going to pop open here? It doesn't happen. And good play by him to realize that and say, okay, I'm going to get to the next guy on the play. And he just had to wait to see if the flat defender was going to drop it off. And he did. Goff went right behind him on the play, and you have a huge chunk to St. Brown. That is so much of schematic answers. Understanding what they're going into defensively, utilizing the motion to kind of get that outlook of what they're going to be in, and then having a play that has a design to beat that by getting right underneath the flat defender and getting right behind him on the play once he passes that thing off. So it was well played out, but it was also executed really well because, again, the offensive line did their job a lot with a lot of these play action looks, but also give credit to a guy like Brock Wright on this play with the block here in pass protection to give Goff the time working one-on-one on an edge defender on the play. Like that also stood out to me. So you have the motion, which ends up pulling down the safety on the play, motion across to kick the safety out wide, and then you have the shot behind it. So it was just a well drawn up play schematically, but it was also executed at a high level. And then you immediately get to this 5-yard run play, and there's a lot of runs that we can look at, but this is where I want to start here. You go jumbo package offensively, you go with an outside zone towards the weak side of the formation here, but man, how about the blocking? First off, Frank Ragnow with the reset block, and then you immediately get on to Christian Mahogany, who's getting up there towards TJ Edwards. Mahogany did a lot of good. I'm going to spotlight him again in this one. I didn't think there was much bad. There was one where he fell down on kind of like a duo scheme, but outside of that, he ran block incredibly well, and this was an early example of that, him finding the second level piece, blocking the second level defender, and he did that constantly in this game, which was outstanding. Like, we knew he was an athletic piece. We knew how good of a puller he was back in college, but for us to get our first like glimpse of what this is going to look like, man, Mahogany was smart. He was picking up stunts, and then as a run blocker, he just fit in like this guy had been playing for weeks now. I guess they saw it in practice. He was clearly getting his reps because they kept making him the backup offensive lineman, and immediately when we see him out there, it was like, okay, he's performing at a super high level, and this was the first kind of glimpse of that. Now, Jets drive ultimately stalled out. You know, they went into a cover 3 look defensively. They forced us to kind of throw the ball away. Touch late, kind of going to Sam Laporta, and Goff decided against it. He just wanted to get out of there with his points. And then we get back to the defensive side of the ball, and the defense once again gets us off the field. It's really the fumble on the play that kind of shut this thing down. But I will give credit that before the fumble, the Lions played the first 2 downs really well. Now, there was an offside, which isn't great. We just lined up offside. But the first 2 plays, I mean, holding it to a 1-yard run and then a 2-yard run on one of their end around looks, like they were playing the run really well. They were playing super fast in the back end. And then on the fumble, just the alertness there for Josh Pascal to get on the football. But they would have had an answer for the Jet. They would have had a linebacker settling in on top of that. So again, the Lions also came out, I think, in a lot of ways aggressively. We talked about the blitzing, but also like put a safety in the box. We're going to play aggressive against this team. We're going to take away something, and that's going to be the run game. Swift 9 for 20 yards. And it started off with a mistake by the offense, which led to a recovery, which turned into the Lions needing to go take advantage of that turnover. And that's exactly what they did. They got their points. And it started off with a running back screen, which again, we got the glimpse of, okay, we get to see these guys blocking out in space. But also defensively here, you know, you got this 4-match look. And I think what's so crafty about this offensive play call is you utilize Laporta pre-snap with a little motion. You utilize him to kind of run this little wheel route out wide, and it pulls the flat defender out of the play. So they get beat. The flat defender gets beat the series before on, hey, he let him get behind him. We weren't matching it up. We let him get behind us, and they just went over top. So then immediately the next time the Lions get out there, it's like, all right, maybe not the exact same coverage look, but we're going to utilize kind of that wheel look. And now he carries, like, I can't give that up. And guess what? You check it down into a screen, and you have a ton of room to roam. So it was just a cool little like pickup of like, okay, we got him on that. Now let's flip it around and try to get him on this. And they got him on it immediately to start the possession. And then you get to the 2nd and 2 look, and this is where Goff came in super handy of playing at an incredibly fast level. Like, Goff's processing speed in this game was insane. It was insane for the most part. He was just on top of everything. And this first is the first play that stuck out to me there. You got a 2nd and 10 in the red zone, and they're going into a quarters look in the red zone, which they do, and it's really tough to push the ball into those tight windows, and we showed that on Saturday in our preview video. So the Lions, they kind of stayed away from it. It was like, all right, we're going to run the ball, and then we saw also in another time, they just ran a tunnel screen to St. Brown to 3rd down, and he gets in the end zone, a great block, a great run, and then here, it's simply an RPO screen look, but a lot of times you don't really, throw this, right? But Goff sees, before the snap, he sees Kyler Gordon showing that he's going to blitz on the play, and he does. That's one place that they will blitz from the slot, so the Lions have that attached as an option, and Goff sees it, recognizes it, gets it out, and he picks up some yards, and that's typically where those run plays get blown up. So we saw 2 answers to this game. Number 1, Gibbs spinning the dude out of his shoes and making something happen, and number 2, Goff recognizing it from the gun, hitting his RPO look, having an answer attached to the run, and it picks up a positive game to set us up for a 3rd and 6, where ultimately the Lions go to an inside zone. Kevin Zeitler leads the way, and he pick up a 1st down on 3rd down. So again, not overthinking it, running the ball on 3rd down, but just having those little attachments where you can just see your quarterback is aware of what's going on. He's not just blindly like, I'm going to hand it off. He's aware of what's happening, and they were very well prepared for that slot blitz, which is something that Chicago does a ton, and then ultimately we're able to punch that in behind Jahmyr Gibbs finding a way into the end zone. But even in those plays, I still loved the play calling down there, even though it took us a couple of plays to get it into the end zone. The last one was kind of a lost block by Decker, but Gibbs just found a way to get in there. The play before that was a lost block by Brock Wright, but it was a great counter pull usage, which worked to perfection, and that was what you had to do. We talked about that as well in the preview. It was like, hey, counter pulls work, or use a lead blocker on the outside zone, and Lions did that, and they punched it into the end zone. But now let's stay on the offense side of the ball, because the defense got off to an outstanding start, and again, it was a forced fumble. Now, this one was forced, so well done, but we know, I think Mig Robertson actually ended up forcing this. I'm not sure completely. But anyways, the point is, guys are punching into football. That's what they do, especially in the cold. It ended up working out well. But this was another really great start, because you had them in a 2nd and 9. The Lions went to like a full-on cover 0. Here comes our linebackers. So good job by the Bears. Their answer for it, they had the check down screen, and they ended up picking up what could have been a big gain until the fumble. But then again, the offense gets back on the field, and immediately we start to see some answers. So first off, Bears are like, okay, let's tweak up the aggression here. We're going cover 3 because we have to stop the run, and at this point, they had no answer for it. We're going to do that again. And that's typically given us problems in the past, but this time we're going to blitz. So you lose an underneath defender, but on this first cover 3 look, you have Jamison Williams crossing the field, picks up 17 yards. Little note that I attached to this is look on the backside of this play. Why does this happen? Because Tyreek Stevenson has his eyes downhill. He's not, drifting back to make sure that he cuts off this crossing route. And again, that's a scheme awareness play. That's not just like, oh, it just happened to work out. No, that's so aware of what the Bears do. We showed that as well in the preview. I said, hey, go at the free safeties, right? You can do that. That's how you get your shot plays. What do? They got behind a single eye free safety, touchdown. But then also this chunk play, the backside corners, we showed this. If you watched it, you could speak to it. We showed this is what the Bears do. This tells you how well lines are game planning, and they're doing things that I didn't notice. I didn't know that there was like, oh man, look how crazy they react to a fumble. Let's try that. But I did see this. This was very noticeable on film. It's like, hey, when they're in these spots, their cornerbacks are super aggressive on the backside. They don't really take those things away. So that opens up. And we saw it here early where Stevenson is not looking and searching for that backside throw, and when Goff makes that backside throw, there's a window there for him because Tyreek Stevenson is looking back at the line of scrimmage. So again, it's a great job prepared. This isn't just coincidence. This is the Lions' preparation. I want to show the little nuggets to some of these plays. Now let's get back to the run game here because again, we were blocking our butts off in this game. A 12-yard run. We go to this duo run. You work behind Kevin Zeitler, who was great against Chicago last time. He was good again in this one. The whole offensive line played well. Frank Ragnow, remember coming in, I was like, yo, Cohort, how are we going to handle that on the interior? Those guys have been playing well. He didn't notice these dudes at all. You didn't notice them. And they were still slanting up front. They still had their movement. You didn't notice them. The Lions were super reactive from up front, but they just moved these guys around. And I love that they leaned into stretch runs to fit to give skill set, but also these straight dual runs. Like, let's get downhill. Let's move some people. And they did that. And I thought that coming in that those dual runs gave the backers a problem. We were able to get up to the second level a ton last time we played this team, but it gives them a problem because if they can't fill and really solidify a gap up front, then it's hard for the linebacker to know how to fill. And this was an example kind of that, of creating movement, a 12-yard run, Saint hitting the second level block, really the third level block, and Laporta out there sealing an edge. Like, Everybody's involved, and again, the tight ends continue to block well. This has been a recipe for success for the Lions now for weeks on end, is the way that the tight ends are run blocking has added so much. It's not just the offensive line, it's those guys. Well, I'd be crazy to not at least throw this clip in here of Gibbs absolutely spinning the heck out of Kyler Gordon. Seemingly, he also recognized this, or he sees it before he even gets the handoff, that, oh snap, here comes Gordon, and he makes the play happen. And then again, also Laporta, note his block on the play. Laporta blocking incredibly well. We lose the on the next play. Craig gets his first carry. It doesn't go incredibly well. But immediately here, now let's talk about another thing that we talked about coming into this game. So once you start pressing into kind of these areas where you're in a position to go score, now you get more of these two deep looks, right? It gets really tough to throw the ball. So what do the Lions' answer have to be? We also talked about this, a lot of two-man contests. I thought we'd see a ton of this. Well, here was our first, well, not our first, but it was a glimpse of it, of the high-low setup off of it. Laporta runs the hitch. You run the corner out behind it. It's really kind of a simple look, but it is a great response on the play. Answer with the two-man. You make it a third down and manageable. And then again, the very next play, we also get a Tampa 2 look defensively. And what's unfortunate about this play is that, credit to them, they showed man coverage, and the Lions end up checking into a man beater. They go into Tampa 2. It's a good job by them disguising this, and the Lions ultimately had nothing on the play, and they end up throwing an incomplete pass here. That being said, I would have probably liked one of the drags on the mesh concept the Lions set up here to maybe settle down and give ourselves a little bit of a window. There really wasn't a great answer to this, which kind of stinks. You would have liked to see a better answer potentially set up here, because there's really not a great answer to this look that the Lions ended up getting. So I still want to see a better attached answer outside of just strict the man beaters. Maybe something else attached that if things just do go awry. Some teams can just lean on their quarterback, making something happen. We have to have kind of a secondary response to it. And I get it. You check into a man beater, but you'd like to see some sort of response off of that. That's something to kind of keep an eye on as we continue to move forward, because that has given us trouble in the past. Now let's flip back to the defense side of the ball, because here in a 2nd and 20 look, we get this pass break. To me, this was an example of some of the creativity defensively. We've seen this before where the Lions show a coverage, they drop out, they disguise well, but it's also, new pieces in the back end, so that's nice. I thought the linebackers played this pretty well. JC's kind of playing in between. You end up bringing Brian Branch, and this speaks to strength in numbers. I've said this a couple of times. I don't know how many times I actually said it over here, but this is going to be the Lions pass rush going forward. How the Lions create pressure is going to be strength in numbers. It's not going to be one guy takes over the game. Hopefully we get that. If we get some bad matchups, somebody just goes crazy, but it's going to be different times, different guys coming through, and I thought this was a good example of that. Now, it wasn't as good as you would like to see, especially with a 4-man rush consistently in this game, but there was examples of guys coming through, and strength in numbers also speaks to the secondary sometimes has to force the guy to hold the ball a little bit longer. That way we can get there. And here's an example, right? You bring Brian Branch, you kind of create this slant rush out of that. You get some blown blocks forced. We saw Za'Darius Smith in this game. I think he had 6 pressures. I thought he was above average creating some pressure, especially towards the end. Muhammad was the guy that came through with the clutch sack, so that's a different player. Levi came alive, especially when some of the injuries popped up, got a little bit of pressure there, got some late wins. Reader created some movement, got a tip pass, and that's what it's going to be. It's going to be iffy creating blitz pressure. It's going to be different guys finding ways to come through, and it's the ability to get it from different spots. Disguising coverage to hold onto the football, that creates pressure, right? Slant rushing, that creates pressure, even when it's simulated. That's how the Lions are going to get after quarterbacks, is it's going to be about that simply, as it's going to come from different areas and different spots. I thought this was an early example, and then, of course, at 3rd and 20 at that point, now they run a screen, and the Lions get to stop. This play has been talked about a lot, but we have to quickly throw it in here. This is the 82-yard touchdown. Now, what stands out to me about this play is a few things. First off, that we have them in base personnel. So now here's the point where we get this team in base personnel because of the success that we were running the football with, which the play before, the Lions ended up picking up a first down on a run play on their first and 10. So now we get this touchdown play. Now again, this was a cover 3 look. They go into a cover 3 sky look, which means the safety is playing into that flat zone. That's where he's rolling into on the play. But we focus on a couple of things here. First off, the Lions motion into a 2-by-2 look on this play. And when they do that, they then see that there is a clear opening that's left open, because this is a balanced coverage, cover 3 would be, that there's an opening left open in that second level of where the safety is going to ultimately fill. So now you get kind of a coverage tell in what they're going to when you shift to a balanced coverage, or a balanced offensive set in a 2-by-2 look, and it's not overloaded, that they're shifting and leaving that opening for him to settle into. So now you get a sense this is cover 3. Now it's about attacking that. And ultimately, who attacks that? It's going to be Jameson Williams. So now how does he do that? Well, first off, the route that he runs to me is really good. There's good eye discipline to his route that he runs here, right? Really holding the safety on this play. But specifically, it's also going to be about the way that he paces this. Once he gets to the top of the route and he kind of slow plays it and then he hits the gas after he breaks out at the top of the route, that's where it's a problem, because even though the safety isn't necessarily like biting down underneath and he's the guy that gives up on the play, it's instead the fact that here it's that he's slow playing it and the defensive back hasn't already turned his back, right? You have Tyreek who's kind of giving it off to the safety, but the safety now who's responsible at this point, he hasn't flipped and turned to run, and you're just not fast enough when you have to flip and turn to run, and Jameson could just hit the gas and go, and the guy runs like a 4.2 or whatever he runs. You're just not fast enough to deal with that. So it's the timing, but it's also really the pacing at the top of the route that was so beautiful here by Jameson Williams, and it just forced him to be late to flip. Another element that I love to this, the way that St. Brown runs his route, the way that he gets off the line, immediately presses towards the inside, towards that hook curl, towards the inside and the underneath defenders as well. So there was a lot of nuance and kind of just the route running detail to this. And then again, it was a beautiful throw on top of all of it. You got him in this base personnel. It wasn't wide open, but it's just simply, again, another example of Jameson Williams is a problem, and this is an element that's just different that not a lot of guys bring, where it's like, yeah, he didn't cover it terribly, but he's gone. It's not like the guy slipped. He's gone, and it's like, dude, you got to turn faster, and if you do, then guess who gets open? It's St. Brown, right? If he flips himself and he's taken off, now St. Brown's open, and the window's there if they're respecting underneath, because, again, you immediately release the underneath defenders. You hold it with St. Brown underneath. You also hold it with the tight end immediately getting out. Now you hold those guys. Now St. Brown's open, right? So that's the problem that you caused there, is clearly just a dilemma that you put the safety in, but on top of all that, it also comes back to the way that they executed this play and the respect that they had gained for the way that they were running the football. Now let's get back to the defensive side. Another play that stood out to me here, this 4th and 3, they end up picking up the first down on this play. This is some of those unfortunate things, but it's also just some of the ways the Bears won. They got dudes. Right, they got dudes, and they won a few times like that where it's like, oh man, that's not bad coverage, but it just so happens that, they get open. And here on a 4th and 3 that was set up by a 3-yard run, which was Za'Darius Smith getting involved, Levi getting in there making the stop, Muhammad playing the run much better. I remember at one point I was like, man, Muhammad struggles against run. Man, he's playing the run a lot better. The awareness is there. Like, that dude's helping us a ton here. But on this 4th and 3, how do they pick it up? They just run an over route, and Brian Branch gets beat on the play, but we've seen this happen. This happened to Carlton against Green Bay. You start to slow play it. And once he's undercutting the route, and you got safety over the top. That's why Kirby doesn't dive, because he's like, oh, he undercut that. I can't dive on it. So I'm fine with it. The issue becomes is that Brian Branch starts to slow play underneath the route, and that's when the ball comes out, and that's when the first down happens there. So you just can't start to slow play on this route. That's why it ends up giving up the first down. It's unfortunate, but that's one of the chunks that you give up. You do everything right, really, for the most part, until you give it up a little bit later on the play. And then ultimately, they had some creative play calls to get into the end zone. The one that I hate is really the touchdown that we ended up giving there, because we were just late on the play action. He chips down and he releases it to the flat, and Turner's just late to pick it up. And then also, they had a nice little play design where they kind of got that beneath route. Lions go into, kind of their cover 2 look, but they don't play it as well this time, where they give up the beneath look because the cornerback gets pressed back inside with no threat on that side of the field. The thing is, they adjusted to that, and later when they ran the same kind of look, Amik doesn't press inside. He stays down. He shuts down the beneath route. They pick up 2 yards on the play. So again, it's adjusting by the defense. So you get beat by it once, don't get beat by it again. And they do that, which is great. It's a great adjustment to kind of seeing that once and then not letting it happen again. But you still hate how we gave up that touchdown. It feels like we shouldn't have there. Now let's flip back to the offensive side of the ball here, because there was a lot of good things to point out. First off, the amount of eye candy the Lions utilized was a must. We all said that in the preview, like, yo, use that. Involve it. Don't just show it. Get it going early. Utilize that a ton, because the Lions knew that the linebackers were so good and they're so smart. And that's why the fake fumble was an addition. First off, we're not even there yet. This idea that, oh man, Lions using trick plays against a bad team. Like, you don't have like, oh man, we had 3 trick plays and we just used it. It's gone. It's not like you're playing Uno or something, or I don't know what's a good example. You showed your hand, man. It's over. You used your trick play. You only had 3 to use. Now you used them all. It's not like that. That's not how the game works. Trick plays are effective when you utilize the right play for what the defense's tendencies are. You can't just have a bucket of trick plays and we just throw it when we decide to, and it's like, oh, it worked. That worked because it was a trick play, but it won't work next time because now we used it. Like, no, that's not how it works. If that's a tendency beater, it's going to work. That play works because of the coverage that they're in. It doesn't work if they're in a different coverage, right? If they're manned up, does that work? Probably not. Probably not the same. He's not open like that. It works because of the coverage they were in and because of a tendency that they picked up on and how they reacted to a fumble earlier. And that can work again. Right, that can work again. That same play. We've ran the hook and ladder a lot a lot of times this year. How many times has it not worked? How many times has it not worked? Right, it's going to work. They're going to work if you have the right trick play. It's not about running the amount of trick plays or when you run it. It's like, oh, you ran it against the wrong team there. That's a bad team. Like, no. No, that's not how it works. That's not how it works. It works based on what the defense is doing. And if you're picking up on their tendencies and you can attack those, it's going to work. Okay, it just is. That's just how football works. And I bring that up to say that this is why the Lions doing these little things like all this movement pre-snap, the fake end around look to set up the running back screen. I mean, look at how the linebackers are reacting to this. It only picks up 6 yards, but you can see the reactiveness of everybody going like this. Even Owens on the play, the safety in the flat is like, okay, I'm going over here. And you end up picking up 6 yards on a cover 3 look again because that's the anticipation, and you show this and they're respecting the run, and you can see that the response that you're able to get out of that. Their cover 3 look, and to me, this is just Jahmyr Gibbs being Jahmyr Gibbs. And I got to show a couple of these because this dude's special. We showed the spin, but this is just incredible. They're going simulated pressure, so Sweat drops out. They bring a backer on the play. So Goff quickly gets it out, gets it to Gibbs. What stands out here is, yeah, Sweat in space, you don't expect him to make the play. But it's, again, we pointed this out last week. Gibbs has this knack, and he's had this since he's gotten here, where he has an ability once he gets out of the backfield to read who's out and who's around him that's a threat. And that way, when he turns around to get the football and he does get the ball, he knows exactly, he has a plan. It's like he's not like, I'm going to turn around and then see what happens. He's got a plan immediately. And this was a great example of it. He caught this ball and immediately was like, I'm going around that guy. And he turned and made this huge loop to go get 12 yards. And that's just Jahmyr Gibbs being Gibbs. That's vision before he even gets the football as a pass catcher. I don't think we give enough credit to vision there. That's vision. And that was an amazing example of that, and I had to throw it in here. With a run a little bit here, right? This is a 4-yard pickup for Jahmyr Gibbs on this play, but I just love the response from the offensive line. This is when I knew, like, yo, they're playing at a super high level. It's an outside zone run, but watch how they handled this slant. I mean, you see on this play where they're handling the slant perfectly on the play. I mean, Decker ends up picking it up and then giving it off to Mahogany before he goes and hits the edge, but it's the cutback lane that's set up by Penei Sewell on the play, so everybody's pursuing over top, so now the cutback lane is there. That's why the linebackers are where they are. Kevin Zeitler hits the second level. Penei Sewell kind of resets on the play, allows the cutback lane to happen, and this is just excellent responsiveness. In this cover 4 setup, again, they're going to these 2 deep looks, and this is how you know lines are prepared. I've showed this a lot of times. 2 deep looks. Look at the routes here. I mean, we've seen them do goofy things like this before, and we're going to see another example later, but notice St. Brown's route. He releases inside of the offensive tackle, and then he just kind of settles himself down. He takes one of the underneath. They only have 3 underneath defenders. Actually, they end up going to blitz on the play, so they actually only have 2 underneath defenders. He takes the outside underneath defender in a 2 deep look because he just settles down inside and kind of just stands there, so he takes Kyler Gordon with him. Well, that allows Jameson Williams to then run the beneath route and just race across the field, and nobody's there to pick him up. But on top of all of that, it's how Jameson runs it. Jameson's not pressed up on the line of scrimmage. He's in a slot look, but he's not like right off of the tight end. He's in the slot, and then he races underneath, and you have this over route that the safety's got to pay attention to. You got the vertical route, which takes the outside cornerback with him on the play, and then all of a sudden at that point, now you hear us comes Jameson on this beneath route, but St. Brown's little goofy route where he kind of just settles down between the tackle, it leaves this huge space for Jameson. The amount of like little nuances to what the Lions do within their plays to make these things happen and make these things work the way that they work is incredible. And even to that doesn't even work well, right? We lose a yard on this play. It's 2nd and goal. I can't help but point this play out because I absolutely love the schematics of this. Like, this is how, again, this isn't just talk. This is how well the Lions were focused on and how much they were focused on, like, attacking these backers. And this gave me a lot of optimism because we've shown plays go wrong this year, right? We've shown, like, the offensive line last week at times, and we've shown them not be incredibly great. And I even questioned at one point, like, some of the schematics of the run game. I was like, maybe there's got to be a little bit more to this. Man, I saw this play and I was like, okay, no, they're going to be fine. They're going to be fine. And this was a heck of an adjustment because you're worried about the aggressiveness of these linebackers. So on a play like this, you false pull the offensive line. Typically, there's a counter pull, but you're still following the puller. The Lions don't do this very much at all. There's a false pull from the right guard across. So it's a pull across. It's a false pull because it's not going there. You have the lead that's going to go that direction. It pulls every linebacker, and then your lead says, nope, I'm actually going to run a counter off this. I'm going to go the other way. And now it opens up this huge run lane potentially to walk at the end zone. The issue becomes on the play is that the backside defensive tackle working on Mahogany scrapes all the way across the play. Sewell doesn't get a hand on him, and now he's able to kind of spring across to make the stop, as well as kind of a missed block leading the way from Brock, right? He's unable to kind of sustain there. But you see the path that was potentially open up to walk into the end zone. You understand that the result wasn't there. But the idea was amazing, and I couldn't help. I had to find a way to throw that in here. It was amazing on the play, and we ultimately punched in the next play by running the screen tunnel, which, again, it works well because what do the Lions get? They got a slot blitz on the play, and it was also a great run. Sewell gets out there. St. Brown kind of slow plays it, and you just got numbers, and you walk it to the end zone. Let's go back to the offensive side of the ball here. Now, this was after giving up the touchdown. That was a double move. Terry got beat on. We talked about that yesterday. Simply as that. There's quarters. He got beat on a double move, gave up a touchdown. But let's go back to the offensive side before half, and I only do this pretty quickly just to kind of of point out Vaki's impact. Back-to-back plays, we're able to give Vaki the ball. But there was a couple little things that I did like about this. First off, the pass protection is fantastic, and I want to give Mahogany some love here. Passing off a stunt, great job in pass pro. That was a huge question for me. We'll see how that works as it continues to go, because Lions did a lot of play action. They kind of minimized a lot of singled up looks for him, and they don't have a great interior rusher, so this wasn't like he was seeing Chris Jones and just shutting him down. That's not what it was. That was my biggest concern about Mahogany, and I'm sure he's improved a ton, but this was a great look of like just awareness there, so I had to give him some love. And then on this 3rd and 2, again, a cover 3 look, I love the find here from Jared Goff. He like immediately just sensed like, okay, Vaki's there. I don't like what I see when I'm moving kind of to my left here. Jamison was covered pretty well. I'm going to fire it across the field and find Vaki, and Vaki ends up helping us try to get into field goal range. We then missed Laporta. Goff did miss it throwing it front, and then he came back and threw a really nice pass to Saint, but it was actually just a nice grab, and then we had the flag and it kicked us out of field goal range. But it was those 2 plays, little things on the plays that I wanted to kind of give some shine to. But then our offense gets back on the field, and they do what they usually do when they win, and that's coming out of half and going up and putting up points immediately. And that's exactly what they did. It would have been nice to have the 10-point swing. We only got 7. You hate leaving those points on the board potentially, but we did come out and respond, and it started off with this big play to Jamison, where 2 things. First off, Jamison just looked special. It looked like he was playing against a bunch of high schoolers. Like, I'm going to go here, I'm going to run all the way across the field and go that way. You see it all the time in high school plays, where it's like, that guy's more athletic than everybody else. That's a problem. But this is the NFL, and speaking about Goff's awareness, these kind of plays show everything, but also the offensive line. Couple things. First off, watch Penei Sewell here. So they recognizes the linebacker is blitzing, and Penei Sewell says, all right, I'm not going to stay here. I'm immediately going to run inside. He slides in his protection to go pass off with Zeitler so they can pick up the immediate rusher and the linebacker, rather than allowing the guy that's closest to the quarterback to get there. They slide off, and that puts a one-on-one with Goff and Sweat. This is great for Goff because it's a little bit more time, but now it's cover 3 and they're blitzing. They lose an underneath defender. So you have simply a curl flat setup. Like, it's a very simple concept, but Goff recognizes the linebacker blitz, so he knows, hey, 1 less underneath defender. So now Goff goes like this. He says, okay, I got Sweat 1-on-1. Sweat can't rush the passer because now the ball's getting out so fast on his quick passing concept, which you've already seen they started to turn to, is like, let's get more aggressive, cover 3 blitzing. So Lions, okay, let's go to a quick passing concept to beat that. And then Goff executes it to perfection. He looks at the flat, gives a pump fake, which also holds Sweat, jumps down the safety, and then immediately fires it right back to Jamison. Now he's wide open because they lost an underneath defender. There's nobody there to play him, and now he returns and runs across the entire formation to pick up a huge grab to get the second half started. This was just great across the board. The execution, this is veteran execution across the board. Well done. One of my favorite plays when watching this game back. And then, of course, they punched it in with the trick play, the fake fumble, which is just a cover 3 beater. It's a leak route. You hold the flat defender. You also hold the backers. Everybody's yelling fumble. You execute it to perfection. But this play has been talked about enough. It's beautiful. Laporta, way to get in the end zone there. All right, so now we jump out to the big lead, and then this is when our defense has to kind of just end things. And it starts off with a negative 1-yard run, and the guy that I want to give some credit here to is really the defensive front as a whole. Levi gets in on this stop. Jack Campbell and Ben are playing incredibly fast in this game. I mean, Ben just looks like a whole different player when he's off ball. I mean, I love watching this dude off ball. Even Trevor got hit in some of those spots a few times in this game where he had to bounce to off ball, and he just looks awesome. He looked awesome in this game, so give him a lot of credit because I thought he finished really well at Sam last week, and then this week he carried over. It's like, that guy looks pretty good when he's off ball. That's the guy I remember signing from Kansas City. But then also Levi on this play, give him credit for doing a nice job, and then Reeder working over Levi on the play, right? Levi's now kicked the nose basically here. He works over Levi to go make the run stop and force a negative 1-yard run. Then Terran gets beat. That sets up the next first down, just simply getting beat 1-on-1. That happens. But then we get a 1-yard run, which again, Levi forces the blown block, kicks it out to Amik, and Amik out wide was just stepping down and hammering dudes. 1-yard gain on the play. Again, this was a stretch where Levi came to life, especially with the injuries here on the right side. He just came to life, and this was a beautiful stretch for him. Then we get them into the 2nd and 14, create an incomplete pass here. Lions, what I loved about this was schematically. Another thing we talked about in the preview, 2-man looks. I like 2-man in the red zone, and I liked it because we could press. And if you remember last time we played this team, right, we showed kind of the red zone look where we played kind of the combo coverage, but we passed it off, but the linebacker plays the seam and then he passes it off. Well, the issue became is that they ran the little route to pull out Jack Campbell, and then they also ran the whip route, which is really well ran by Keenan to just walk him into the end zone and peel out the coverage. So it was a well done thing schematically. Well, here, even though it's not a red zone, I do love this because instead of running a coverage like that, the Lions go 2-man coverage so that they can press and be physical. And when you see across the board how Lions executed this 2-man look, oh my goodness, you get goosebumps. It is beautiful. It's beautiful across the board. It's great coverage across the board, man. this is a sense of what the secondary can be. And I think Terran continues to get better and better, even though he's beat a few times by really good players in this game. This was awesome across the board here to see this in coverage and this two-man look, the way that the Lions handled this thing defensively on the play. But literally nobody's open. And then you get a blown block by Levi late, create some pressure, and the ball is forced to be thrown away. Now we flip back to the offensive side of the ball. And again, let's get back to some of the adjustments. Now the defense like, okay, we got to stop with the cover 3 stuff. It's not working. So let's go cover 4. So we saw the cover 3 into cover 3 blitz, and now let's go 2 deep safety. So now we get cover 4. Really just a little check down on the play. But again, I got to point out the blocking here. So you pick up 5 yards on this play to Jahmyr Gibbs, but how about the blocking? How about Taylor Decker on this play in pass protection and Brock Wright as a tight end working one-on-one at the edge? I got to shout out the pass protection here because again, it was so good in this game that I'd be crazy to not give them some attention and give them some love. And then one of the last amazing wrinkles, and I'm watching this play live, and I'm like all of you probably thought, oh, okay, this was just a check down and something amazing happened. And, I made the point even in the post game where it's like, hey, the Lions made them tackle, and that's great. But they took it a step further. They didn't just say, hey, prove that you can tackle. They said, all right, it's 3rd and long. Rather than playing into the dumb strategy of let's force it on 3rd and 17 to a tight window where they're really good and maybe something goes wrong and we give them life, instead of doing that, the Lions were like, yeah, you know what? They took the whole idea of like make them tackle, which I was talking about on Saturday, to another level. And they said, you know what, let's actually design a play to be a check down on 3rd and forever. So they run 2 vertical routes to just run off the coverage because we know in 3rd and long, they're going to play cover 3, right? And they're a lot of times going to play cover 3. They're going to settle on the sticks. It'll be hard to find options. They go cover 3 bunch, what they always do. Then they funnel everything back inside. That's what the Bears do. So Lions are, all right, you want to funnel everything inside and play tight, on the sticks? This is what we're going to do. Now, as I'm going through this play, I'm going to speak through it as if it went down like it was designed. But I do believe that there's a real chance that this was actually a hook and ladder setup, but it was taken away by the defense sort of on the play as St. Brown runs his whip route and Gibbs is like trying to be sneaky and wait, and then they're going to use Laporta kind of as the lead blocker as he peels off the play. I think that may have actually been the design here, which is still great because it plays into not forcing it into a tight window downfield, but as you watch me actually talk through it, I'm going to speak through it as if it was by design because regardless, it was a great idea. We're going to run a wheel route with Laporta. We're going to run 2 vertical routes on the backside. Goff can look there first. Those guys are just pulling off coverage. There is nothing fancy. They're not even looking for the ball. We're just peeling out coverage. Then we're going to run this wheel route to Laporta, which is going to peel coverage that way. And then we're going to have St. Brown want to run a whip route to just settle in. Then Jahmyr Gibbs is going to leak out of the backfield, and he's just going to wait. He's just waiting for Saint to get the ball so he can go block somebody. And that's exactly how they do it. Goff extends the play. He flips it back the other way. Everybody's sitting on the sticks, and Gibbs like, great, this is my time to shine. He picks up 1 and 2 blocks, and Saint goes and gets a first down. Are you kidding me? Dude. This is why I say the coaching staff will give us a chance in every game. In every game if we execute. Because of things like this. Who's thinking on 3rd and 16, like, man, let's see if we can come up with a way to check the ball down. What? And they do it, it works. And it was beautiful. I'm like, all right, I mean, the Vikings did it well last week, 3rd and long. They pick up 2 first downs, 3rd and long, so they just checked it out and got out of their hands. Then the Lions will take it to the next degree and be like, you know what? What if we designed a check down? We get the first down, and then again, hey, Lions, too many trick plays. Well, nobody's talking about this reverse that worked for 7 yards, and that's just Jamison being great in space. And also, speaking of the offensive line's reactiveness, how about Frank Ragnow? He does this a ton, like in pass protection and play action sets. He finds these like little ways to kind of save the day. And this is another example of that where here comes Gordon off the outside, off the blitz, and he's able to kind of recognize that where Mahogany doesn't. And he's the guy that feels it towards the outside, and he gives enough time for Gibbs to get this ball off. So I thought I'd throw that in there. Then on the second 3, we got to see what Mahogany is really about, because this is what we know him as. He is Mr. Mauler as a polar. And I don't know what the heck that means, but I said it. Polar Express, stop. Here's the poll. Hey, what's your favorite Christmas movie? Let me know in the comments. Completely off topic, but I'm curious. Favorite Christmas movie? This polar, Christian Mahogany on the play. This is what he did back at Boston College. I mean, and just watch him just get out there and just take the dude. I mean, just handle business at the second level up on the linebacker. Laporta also pulling around on the play, does a great job. Kevin Zeitler, Penei Sewell kind of clear things out. On 3rd and 3, we end up not picking it up. We end up trying to go for a 4th, and then we kind of drop the pass. And it was a great play by the linebacker, mainly because, the defense, they went to Tampa 2. They settled in on Edmonds broke on a great play. But the 3rd and 3, what stand out to me is they took a shot to the pylon. Now, Goff had an option with J-Mo underneath, even though it seemed like they were in cover 1. The corner kind of drifted out, so Jamison would have been open. He just never looked over there. Goff actually had a solid look. These are the kind of things that the Lions do when they kind of just know they're going for it on the next down. It's like, dude, we're going to take a shot. Because that's going to be the look where we get a shot because everybody's playing the sticks. So they expected that. So they run the whip route with J-Mo, which kind of pulls down the coverage, and they just run this deep over route with Saint, and Goff tries to take the shot. He had him open, just missed it a little bit too much on it. Missed him in the back corner of the end zone. He would have had Jameson if he would have found that. And then on 4th-3, they knew they were going for it, which made sense. There was no reason to put a field goal on the board. You might as well go for it and really try to put the thing away. They don't convert. Defense, they do a solid job, but the Lions had to answer. Goff threw it really quickly. Yeah, maybe if he waits a little bit, he may have J-Mo in a tight window, but it was like, it made sense why he threw it. He threw it away from the coverage. We just got to hold on, but the linebacker really just made an excellent play there. Good job by him. And then defensively, the last play that I'll showcase here is on a 4th and 7, end up giving up this first down. Terrion was close in cover, just simply got beat one-on-one here, but I do think he's improving. Like, slants have given him problems all year, and working against one of the better route runners in football, this is better, right? He gets the hand on the chest, kind of gets back into the play. He's seen it a lot. His recovery is really impressive, and even probably without the best footing, wasn't the best, right? Obviously, he gave it the reception, but he did contest it. That would be noted as a contested pass, and so I just think that he's going the right direction at this point. Ultimately, the Lions finished it off on defense by just making play after play and the pressure kind of from different spots coming alive, and then ultimately the big sack by Muhammad kind of shut things down. That was really the end of the football game. So for me, there was a lot of good, a lot of nuance. The coaching is incredible. Don't listen to all the garbage about too many trick plays. The wrong team, it doesn't make any sense. It's garbage, all right? It's garbage. It's just a fine. People are so worried about the Lions that they're too creative. Maybe they're too creative. Are the Lions using too much creativity? They're so worried about it. It's crazy. But also, man, I mean, look, the defensive line, Levi stepped up in this game. I thought that was great. The linebackers were fantastic. The offensive plan to attack the backers like they did, constantly make them deal with eye candy. The way that they got on top of the free safety. Jameson, for 2 straight games now against Chicago, saying, I can go beat your number 2 corner. That's an answer that we just haven't constantly had in the past. But all of a sudden, here comes Jameson, and he's been able to give us that answer. The inside zone runs were great. I mean, I love that. The being able to double team those interior guys leaning into that was great. There was a lot more variety. I thought the run scheme was way better. I thought it was just great in this game. I mean, and we saw the results because of it. Gibbs is fantastic when he gets the ball a lot. We see that play out. And then the usage of Vaki and Jamar all handling business was amazing. Goff was just hyper aware in this game. Not perfect accuracy wise, but he was hyper aware, and this was just a really good win. So a lot of steps in the right direction. We're not perfect. We still have guys that have gotten beat in the back end, and that's going to happen, and it happens up front too. But for the most part, it was a incredible response, in my opinion, to what happened last week. So now we're on to San Fran. Potentially could lock up the 1 seed this week if the Green Bay Packers beat the Vikings. So go Packers for once. Go Packers. But if not, I look forward to that NFC North battle. This is what we live for. Dan Campbell would say, this is what we live for. I'm going to leave it there. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Let me know if there's a player you want to see me break down specifically. Thank you for watching.